actually it's not a volatile period in the sense that the price is probably no different to what it was 2 weeks ago, but this perception of volatility that could be coming in at any point in time. How are you guys looking at it?
Yeah, and nothing's changed from 2 weeks ago, a month ago. I think it's again like we've spoken about before in terms of like the time frames people are working towards, and a lot of people on the timeline and potentially listeners of the show are so used to or have been used to playing in these meme coin cycles, which the time frames of a meme coin, if you're playing them the way you probably should be playing them, are very, very short, right? 2 weeks is an age in meme coin trading. When you're investing in pre-seed, seed stage projects, whether that's through Echo, syndicates, or at a venture fund, your timeframes are so much longer, and these days even longer than they used to be in this space. So like nothing changes from our perspective on the liquid side. I think it's honestly so important now for everyone to realize like where we are in terms of the market versus if you've been around since 2020, how different it is. A lot of people I speak to in on the retail side, or whether it's in the Kingdom Ventures community, or things like that, you sometimes see people holding on to their bags that they've had for 4 years, just with a assumption that at some point these are going back to either where they were or up 5x, 10x, and it's just a waiting game. That may not be correct anymore. Like that is something that I think could really change this cycle, and we're going to have these concentrated markets of meme coin mania, AI agent, maybe Dino coins, and then the new runners, the Mega ETHs of the world, the Monads, the Movements, the Verachains. Your old coins may not get the love. Like in 2020, it was like buy any altcoin, we're making money. It's just how much. Not sure that's the case anymore. So I would say from that perspective, if that's the thinking, maybe it's time to like recheck in and check your portfolio and kind of think it's not just about being passive anymore. And I think like the safest is obviously having a couple of the majors, having with the majority having a barbell with some means if you want to play that on the short term just to keep busy and feel like you're involved. But patience is the name of this game now, I think, and just being aware of what's going on and not over trading.
I feel like a part of me just died.
I'm sorry.
Like I had to just let go of something that like, 'cause I'm from class of 2017, right? So like I remember, I distinctly remember just like having that emotion or that feeling of like, don't worry, dude. It's like at some point, like the pool is gonna slosh back to your side of the pool, like your side of the tub, and your price is gonna come up, and then just get off then, right? Like that's gonna happen.
Pool's too
And
big
I
now,
think
right?
the pool might be too big right now. And like I don't know that I have any positions in like these. I'm totally out of like the major dino coins and like some of these old super ones, but like yeah, like I don't think I've ever had to like confront that emotion that I used to have and say like, okay, like I have to like recalibrate my like some like a seed in my brain of like that's no longer, I have to put it to sleep. It's done. It's like now that's gone. But I've never had to like, actually let it go. So thank you, and I hate you.
And look, I'm not saying it won't happen, but everything's about probabilities, right? Especially in investing.
Let's
So you just have to
Yeah,
assign
I
let's put
agree
it
with
probabilities
this
to
it.
way.
these. Yeah.
Brett needs help selling his bags anyway. So if we just tell him they won't, he won't do anything about it for 2 weeks anyway. So let's not
Sometimes
worry
2
about it.
years. Like, you
Sometimes
know,
2 years.
that's
Maybe they
that's
will
the
be
part
back again.
I'm having to deal with. Is like that the 2 year portion of me is like, fuck, like some of those guys are not looking great.
I think that's probably fair. One other important question, David, that I had for you is like this liquid versus, you operate on both sides at Silvermine, but are you noticing? Because we actually noticed this on the deal flow side as well. This is the key question for me as an investor at the moment. Are you noticing any like urgency from teams that probably should have launched already and are like trying to get out, but the market is obviously not as good as what it was? I mean, to be honest, I don't know 100% how teams have been thinking about this. The market has allegedly not been good enough for 6 to 12 months to 18 months, even when it was good. So I'm not entirely certain that people are evaluating the market appropriately, but for whatever reason now, people think this is much worse than it was 2 months ago. And I think they are correct in thinking that. Are you noticing any urgency or any urgency in the deal flow where it's like, okay, well, on the liquid side, we need some help when these tokens launch versus, new teams coming to market? And do you have any preference on that?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few things there. One, I agree with you in terms of like when the market was ripping, but again, it was ripping in certain areas, right? And if you look at like the general altcoin market, which a lot of these teams are launching into, it was always pretty bleak. So it was always every time in history, right? It's like Bitcoin runs, ETH runs, altcoins runs, and everyone kind of waiting for that waterfall to happen, which just didn't. So teams were obviously waiting for that slightly better market, and now it's a worse market. So you're seeing so many teams holding back, which are now you're in a situation. I think we talked about it last year, B-Check, like Q3 is going to be like a crazy amount of launches. We're now going into Q2 next week, and it's of the next year, and it's like most of those teams are still waiting. So that's a bit of an issue. But obviously, like the strongest teams will still do well, especially from like pre-seed seed stage levels, and that's the name of the game. Like we discussed 2 weeks ago, it's normal venture is you only expect a few to be those winners, and the rest either trend to zero or you break even. So that's the nature of venture investing. On the liquid side, we're starting to hear more and more about deals where teams are getting liquid funds in to buy X amount on launch over the course of a few weeks or months and getting kickbacks, right? Like how you know about those or how you see those, you can't really on chain. It's super hard. So, but there are teams doing that, and to be honest with you, like they kind of have to. We tell most teams like part of your strategy now has to have to get liquid funds to be investing on you post launch. So that there's a conflict there, right? Because everyone wants to launch at super high FDV, but a liquid fund doesn't want to invest at a high FDV. Hence the reason why they get these kickbacks. So there's so many like dynamics going on like behind the scenes. So I always try and tell like retail investors, it's like you need to know the game you're playing, especially buying things straight at launch, because there's things going on behind the scenes that you're not aware of. So it's not a perfectly open and free market as you would hope. And we don't do stuff like that on the liquid side. Our liquid side's much more like delta neutral strategies, like farming, yield stuff, liquidity provisioning versus like directional bets on altcoins, because it's so hard to know what's going on there.